Yo, what is up, boys and girls of the Mir cult? Welcome to the first ever Mir recap here from the hotel that I am in for MSC 2025. Now, I'm sorry the upload. This was supposed to be uploaded yesterday. I was very tired yesterday. I stayed and watched the games at the venue because it was very, very hype. Aurora vs ONIC Philippines was yesterday. So I'm sorry, but I'll upload this today. Today, I just finished casting TLPH vs ONIC. Fucking crazy matchup. And don't worry, we'll get to TLPH vs ONIC tomorrow, all right? We'll upload a separate video for day 3 and day 4. But today, this video, I'm going to be focusing on day number 1 and day number 2, recapping exactly what happened in all of the matches. So without further ado, let's start with Team Liquid Philippines versus Ultra Legends. Now, honestly, this was an expected result. I don't think there's much to really talk about this matchup. Team Liquid Philippines were able to beat Ultra Legends 2-0. They just had the better draft. They had the better execution overall. One thing to take from this matchup is the fact that Ultra Legends are actually not as bad as I thought. They'd have no coach. They are just 5 random dudes who won an MPL. Yeah, I was actually quite surprised with their performance. They had very good early game moments. So anyone who underestimates Ultra Legends and thinks they're like just a random team will probably get punished. Liquid almost got punished, in the early games, but obviously it's Liquid Philippines, favorites for the tournament, so not much to talk about there. Next up, I think this one is the big one. ONIC versus CFU Gaming. Oof. 2-1 to ONIC, but it wasn't really like a statement victory for ONIC. I put ONIC as the second top team in my tier list, so I got a lot of hate for it after game 1. So many people started freaking hating, saying like, oh my god, this is your tier S team, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, the boys turned it around, and I was able to get back at the haters. But yeah, let's talk about the core mistakes I would say that ONIC made in this matchup. So ONIC in game number 1, I think it was really a bit of a draft mistake where they went for the Lunox pick. Yes, I've heard from Adi as well, I think in the interviews, that was the way they countered 1-1 in scrims, but in the game itself, we didn't really get to see that. ONIC also kind of fumbled a whole lot just because they didn't have winning lanes, and they were very disconnected. This seems to be a pattern with ONIC for the longest time. MSC 2023, they also started things off in the group stage with a very shaky performance against Burn X Flash. If you guys remember, ONIC take some time before they get used to internationals. I don't know what it is, but that was the case for this match. Game number 2, it was also really not like the cleanest match. They had a very similar draft, but they changed things. So then fill in an MM in the gold lane instead of the Lunox, and it worked back to back. I think the big part of ONIC's game in game number 3 and how they won, was the Loyi. This was a surprise pick. Me and Midnight and a lot of the analysts, we have just been talking about the Loyi nerfs recently, and we thought we're not ever going to see the Loyi again. But hey, ONIC were able to make it work really, really well. And they actually used the Loyi's nerf against their opponents, which is weird. Because a couple of times, Suns would just use the ultimate, and people would see him utilize the ultimate on the map and overthink. They would overthink after seeing the ultimate, which is a very smart way of utilizing it. I remember Turtle 1, I think it was, or Turtle 2, Loyi pressed ult, and he just teleported from mid to purple buff bush. That was surprising because it kind of made, see, if you overthink a lot of their moves, they're like, oh shit, Loyi is teleporting, where is he going? We have to check the bushes, and it ended up just being an ONIC freeway into the turtle. So yeah, really creative ways from ONIC in game 2 onwards. Very impressed with how they were able to pop off there. So yeah, CFU looking strong too, by the way. This is a team that I rated pretty highly in my tier list. It was an A tier position for CFU. But now let's move on to SRGOG versus Virtus Pro. SRGOG versus Virtus Pro was a weird one for sure. Again, it really felt like SRG were also kind of limit testing in game number 2. They got stomped hard, by the way. So Virtus Pro mechanically are really, really good. I gotta say, I did not expect Virtus Pro to actually be able to compete against the top teams in the group stage at all. I saw their wildcard run, and even though, yes, they dominated for the most part, a couple of times they did look shaky. Like when they didn't have the early game lead, when they're forced to play behind from early game, they don't do too well. When they do get early game, though, they're always really good in the wild card, and it translated over to the group stage, which was surprising to me because they were able to dominate SRG OG in game number 2. Now, again, SRG OG, definitely not a pushover, defending MSC champs. That's why they were able to come back in the end. They have that experience with the draft from Veki and Arcadia, the players' experience too. So after making a mistake in game number 2, I think a bit of a greedy draft with the Kimi, Hayabusa, and Moskov, by the way, that is my take. I think those 3, like the resource-heavy mid to late game heroes, shouldn't really be an option to go for in this tournament. I think in this tournament, you have to have like, drafts need to be great, execution needs to be better. If you have a lackluster draft, good execution can't really save you just because of the level of play that we're seeing now. And that's also the reason why Virtus Pro lost, I think, in game number 3. Game number 1 is more of just like SRG, we're just better. Game 3, SRG completely outdrafted VP. And again, goes to show that if you lose out of the draft, you cannot execute that well. Like, it doesn't matter how good you execute if you have a bad draft to start with. I really dislike the Bruno pick for Virtus Pro, and I don't really like the fact that they also went Zetian. I'm just not a fan of Zetian, guys. Zetian, 0% win rate on day number 1. Yeah, pretty bad. Day number 2, it changed though, because we'll get to that. Mythic Steel versus Corinthians. This is kind of a throwaway game, guys, for me. It's so disappointing to see Mythic Steel's performance against Corinthians, just because I expected Mythic Steel to be a whole lot stronger. Corinthians, I expected to be sort of this level, but it's more on Mythic Steel just falling to like their own mistakes, the mistakes that they made in the past. This is classic Mythic Steel. If you guys watched the Everything You Need to Know video about MSC, I did say Mythic Steel, great explosive team fights, amazing mechanics, but they tend to get overconfident, to overextend when they're ahead, to, you know, throw the game. And it happened. It happened here in game number 1. One straight push from Corinthians. They were able to recover game 2 and game 3. And really, there's not much to talk about. I think Mythic Steel just threw game 1. Like, I guess one thing to note was the Selena pick was great. Was risky for them, but it worked up until they just threw. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about Mythic Steel too much here because I really just think they threw game 1. Corinthians were as expected. I expected Corinthians to go home first this tournament, and I think I'll be right on that because Corinthians now, as of today, well, they'll be going up against Virtus Pro. That match has yet to happen, but then even if they make it past Virtus Pro, they will be up against ONIC, so yeah. Let's move on to the Group B matches for day number 2 of our group stage. Homeboys versus Team Flash. This was a very exciting matchup. I did not expect too much from Flash. I thought Flash would just be a random B tier team, which I think was still kind of accurate. They did really well in game 1. I gotta say, that Akai pick into the level 1 invade stomped Homeboys so hard. Like, Homeboys didn't know what hit them in game number 1. So, really good template plays from Team Flash. When they have, you know, like set plays that they have planned before, they do really well. But it's obvious that in game 2 and game 3, when they're off of their comfort picks, aka non-MM from Vanix, you know, non-template plays from the rest of the team, when they have to make sporadic plays happen around the map, they are much worse. Homeboys just stuck to their strengths, and I gotta give Airpong a shout out for that. I remember when I made the RQ video, the RQ ONIC analysis video, saying, you know, RQ, they didn't play towards their strengths. Airpong actually DM'd me saying, dude, this is a good reminder to me. It's a good reality check. We also did the same in MPL Malaysia. We just stirred away from our strengths, tried to cover our weaknesses, and that's what we need to fix. We need to just play with our strengths. And I'm glad to see that Homeboy stuck with that. Coach Airpong, shout outs to him. He just played towards their strengths. You know, they didn't really change the draft too much. They still played like the standard meta compositions. I will say this does make them a bit readable, and against Team Spirit, I'm not really going to be favoring them. But yeah, Flash tried a few cheese picks here and there. Game 2 cheese pick with the Leomord gold lane was a bit off, in my opinion, just because they had an assassin jungle. The composition just, you can see the composition on your screen. I personally didn't like it, just because Leomord's in the gold lane, Joy comes in late to the fight, and you have a Hylos and Kalea and Farsa basically dealing damage. How in the world are you going to win initially with those three. There's no way. You have a whole lot of sustain, a Farsa that can get like one shot in before he needs to cancel, and a Joy that comes in late, and a Leo Mord still in gold lane not participating. So I just feel like that was a blunder in the draft. Game 3, however, I think Flash actually did a good job with the draft. Even if they went Leo Mord and Masha, I still think they did good. Why? Because they got a utility jungle and they fixed the mid lane problem that I said earlier with the Farsa. Game 3, they had the Kimmy, and yeah, that's consistent damage. They have a Baxia, super tanky, plus sustain from the Angela, and then damage from the XP Masha. So they had all of it covered for this cheese pick to actually work, but it is still cheese, and they lacked a whole lot of siege. Homeboys stuck to their strengths, played the normal game, and won it out. Next, we have Team Spirit versus Dianfeng Yaoguai. My boy Super Ken tried his best, okay? Team Spirit, looking strong. They are very consistent. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about Team Spirit. They drafted really well. They played really well, but I don't really think I can rate them too high based on this performance. I did rate them a tier higher than SRG, which I still think is true, but yeah, I mean, from this match, I didn't really see too much, and that goes the same way for RQ versus Area 77. Pretty disappointed, maybe even very disappointed with their performance, our Area, but we didn't really expect much from them. We also put them in GGNT, probably the second weakest team in this tournament, below, maybe above Corinthians a bit, but I'm not even sure if they are as good as Corinthians. They played the game, drafted the game not to lose instead of trying to win. They literally just tried to defend all game long. They didn't try to make any proactive plays, and RQ are the most disciplined team from Indo. If you don't make moves around the map, RQ will just take objectives. They don't care about fights. They will not push and force out unnecessary moves to end the game quick. They're fine winning games in 14, 15 minutes. As long as they get the game, it's fine. They don't need to push for that. So yeah, RQ just took the game. That was not much to talk about. They also, by the way, in this matchup, broke the Zetian and Juicin win rates. Before game number 2 of RQ versus A77, Juicin was at a 100% win rate and Zetian was at a 0% win rate. Because RQ won on Zetian and Area 77 lost on Juicin, Juicin is no longer 100%, Zetian is no longer 0%. So congratulations to both RQ and Area 77 for breaking this win rate, because even to this day, Juicin still is undefeated. Next is the biggest one. This was the craziest upset of day 1 to day 2 of the group stages. Aurora Turkey beat ONIC Philippines. And man, I have a lot to talk about this one. So, let's start first with game number 1. Game number 1 was a phenomenal game from Aurora Turkey. ONIC Philippines went for a very unorthodox draft, in my opinion. I think everybody kind of knew this, and I also kind of spoke about this in my tier list video about ONIC Philippines. The fact that I didn't put them above ONIC IDs because I think utility jungle just does not fit for King Kong, and therefore he'll be forced on Assassins, which yes, on Assassins he's still a monster, but makes the team more readable. Because when you go Assassins, you're kind of stuck to play enabler picks in the XP. There's no way you can actually fit in carries in XP, carries in the mid lane, carry in the gold lane, and carry in the jungle, right? You got to pick one of those roles to go enabler. So that's why in game number 1, it was weird to see the start of the draft from ONIC Philippines. They first picked Arlet when they didn't do any housekeeping on the Arlet pick. Usually when you go and first pick Arlet, guys, you want to ban the Phoveus. You want to take that away. That is a surefire way of dealing with the Arlet. They ended up going for Fredrin still after seeing the Phoveus on the other side after first picking Arlet. And then they went for the Valir. And then they, instead of committing to the Arlet, they decided to swap it around, putting the Arlet Roam, putting Edith in XP, and then picking up Valir. Then, obviously, because there's absolutely no dive from ONIC Philippines, Aurora got away with a fucking Ixia. Really, game 1, I feel ONIC Philippines dropped the ball in the drafts. They had a plan that failed because they didn't really respect their opponents enough to ban Phoveus when they wanted to go Arlet Fredrin, and they didn't have, they just didn't want to commit to what they've already drafted for. So I think a big mislapse there from ONIC Philippines in the draft for game number 1. Again, Arlet Fredrin. I hate Arlet Rome. I'm not a fan of Arlet Rome. I do not like Arlet Rome. Today we also saw it from ONIC ID. Arlet Rome didn't work. Actually, it did work up until it didn't. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Game number 2 for ONIC versus Aurora Turkey. This was back to ONIC Philippines, just understanding, all right, you know what? We need King Kong to be on Assassins. They put him on a Lancelot. They put Kelra on a Granger. And really, this looks like a standard composition for ONIC Philippines. I think everything aside from the Kadita looks pretty normal for ONIC Philippines. You know, this is them back to playing with their strengths. Not too big of a fan of Super Friends on Kadita, but it is what it is. There you go. They were able to get the job done. Game number 3. Oh, Aurora Turkey just outplayed ONIC Philippines. Like, this is also a good example of ONIC Philippines just playing with their strengths. This is why Game 1, I said it was a draft issue. Game 2, no draft issue, they won. Game 3, no excuse for ONIC Philippines, I think. This is a good composition from them. The only thing that I can nitpick is the fact that they went for Beatrix. But Beatrix has always been the go-to hero for Kelra when ONIC Philippines are down. So I can't even blame ONIC Philippines for picking up the Beatrix. And I can't even blame ONIC Philippines for picking up the Beatrix because Kelra popped off so hard in this game. He played the Beatrix almost perfect. The perfect Beatrix game would be Aurora versus ONIC Philippines in the MPL Indonesia Season 14 MPL Philippines Season 14 Grand Finals. This is very close to that level of performance, but unfortunately Aurora were too clean and they figured out a way to catch Kelra. And really, it shouldn't be that hard to catch a Beatrix, but it's goddamn Kelra, dude. He made the game so difficult. And I don't know how. The Beatrix should not have been that massive this game. He stole a Lord, killed the Yisun Shin, did so many things so many times. But a lot of times, it really did feel like ONIC Philippines were just held back by the Selena. The reason we didn't get to see full capitalization on these big plays from Kelra is because everybody just keeps getting caught by the Selena, Rosa Selena. So that's something that you need to hold on, right? So Tianzi, whenever he gets the carries, he's amazing. Tianzi is another top jungle. Remember, Tianzi is top jungle mechanically. You have to respect him. Rosa, now Selena's probably never going to be picked again because everybody's going to ban it. But that leaves open a lot of the other prio picks for Rosa. Back in the day, Rosa was very readable when it comes to picks. He picks up Lilia, Farsa, Valentina. That's it. Don't get those 3 picks. He's done. But now he has the Selena, and I think he has a lot more that we have just yet to see. So that is a very, very good thing about Aurora now that could be used against RRQ too, because they will be facing up against RRQ. So yeah, gotta give props to them. Aurora just played really, really good in game number 3. Like, there was absolutely no excuse. If you want to say game 1 was out draft, yeah, ONIC Philippines fucked it up. Game number 2, they got normal draft and they won, sure. Game 3, both got their drafts, both tried their best, and it was Aurora who walked out of it winning. Day number 3 and 4, mirror recap will be coming out very, very soon, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this format of mirror recap. This is, again, very low editing just because I want to get these videos out quick. Because usually when I have an editor and I put things up, it'll be out very, very late. So hope you guys enjoy this. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 3 and 4 mirror recap. Peace out.